Good morning children, welcome back again. Now we are moving on to our last family, that is Orchidaceae. So you all know, everybody is familiar with orchids. So orchids are an attractive flowers that we usually like to see, and all of you are growing these orchids in your garden also. So let us study more details regarding the family Orchidaceae. So this is a big family. How to talk about more? So be careful and listen and study well. Okay. So the systematic position of Orchidaceae is, this is one of the family coming under the class Monocotyledons and series Microspermae and family Orchidaceae. Okay. And it is distributed, widely distributed, I mean cosmopolitan in distribution all over the world, and having represented by 1000 genera and 20,000 species, widely distributed. Most of the orchids are wild, but what we are growing is actually that is introduced from wild and domesticated. Okay, so they are very rare in Arctic regions also. So in Indian and Pakistan flora, there are about 130 genera and 800 species. Western Ghats, Paschima Ghattam is very rich in orchids. Many endemic orchids are present in Western Ghats. And this is a family of greatest variety of flowers and among flowering plants. So they are actually the queen of flowering plants. And they are known as, widely known because of their specialization in the shape, longevity, beautiful look and everything. And some of them are largely represented genera in all over the world, and many of them we are growing in our gardens. One example is Dendrobium, you may be heard about it, Cattleya, Habenaria, Vanda, Maravaya, common one. So these are all very common in our area. And orchids having its habitat may be of different types. They are where they are growing, that is habitat. They are epiphytic orchids, means orchids that grow on tree trunk. Maravaya, usually we can see on the tree trunks, and they are called epiphytes, and they have specialized roots also, and they are growing on the tree barks, and they absorb moisture from the air by using spongy root known as velamen root, a long white root you can see, by which they absorb nutrients from the air. Clear? And they are not the parasite. They have thickened leaves and stem to store the water. Clear? Then that is another category is terrestrial orchids. Orchids grow on the ground. Okay? Their roots are also very much moist, humid or wet. So epiphytic orchids, orchids grown on other bark of the trees, and terrestrial orchids, orchids grow on ground. We can grow epiphytic orchids in our coconut husk. Okay. Now lithophytes, these are the orchids growing to the surface of rocks. Saprophytes are the orchids growing on mulch, forest floor, that debris and so on. Okay. So 4 categories based on the habitat. Epiphytes, then terrestrial, lithophytes and saprophytes. Clear? Okay. Now based on the growth, there are 2 groups of orchids. They are monopodial and symportial. What is monopodial? One-footed, only having a main stem that continuously grow. Only a main stem that continuously grow. Vanda is an example. What is symportial? Many rooted. The plant produces large number of adjacent shoots that grow into different branches and bloom or flower. Cattleya is an example. I will show you the picture. So this is the monopodial growth, a single axis only and flower at the tip. See, single axis only. Clear? Now this is the symportial, many branches that arises from the root, many axes. Okay. Now going on to the vegetative characters. Habit, usually perennial herbs, terrestrial, or we discussed that is epiphytic. One example of epiphytic is Cattleya, then saprophytic, etc. They are terrestrial, tropical, or somewhere else. Bulbophyllum, vanilla, etc. are climbers. Vanilla, that is climber. This is a Cattleya epiphytic orchid, very beautiful flowers. This is a climber, example of a climber. Now roots. Roots are adventitious roots, and main roots are usually absent. Roots arises from the stem and fleshy or aerial roots. Velamen roots are also present. Stem is an erect, climbing or trailing annual, etc. And usually stem is a thick rhizome. Rhizome is a modified stem, okay, or bulb, pseudo bulb like our onion, okay. So pseudo bulb, rhizome, etc. are present, okay. Now, adventitious and fibrous roots. These are the fibrous roots or adventitious roots arises from the rhizome or stem. Now, erect stem. This is the case of an erect stem. Leaf. Leaf is usually simple. It may be alternate or whorled arrangement. You can see they are spiral or disticus or whorled or sheathing. Sheathing leaf on the stem. They are attached on the stem, arranged spirally. Okay. And leaves are usually fleshy. They are linear in shape, fleshy, and normal foliage type leaves, usual like our mango leaf, like that type of leaf is usually absent, thick and fleshy and linear. Absent in not only in all but in some species such type of leaves are absent. Scale leaves also present in some orchids. Clear? So orchid leaf is important, that is simple, alternate, whorled or opposite condition, disticus or sheathing covered in the stems. Okay. This is alternate and opposite leaves. See, disticus means like this, that cover on the stem. Likewise, this is the leaf cover on the stem, disticus, opposite or whorled. See how the leaves are arranged. Now about the inflorescence. You know the flower is the most attractive part of the family Orchidaceae. Clear? ആരും കണ്ടു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഒന്ന് നമ്മൾ നോക്കിപ്പോകും ഓർക്കിഡിൻ്റെ പൂക്കൾ അല്ലേ. അത് ഒരു ദിവസം കൊണ്ട് തന്നെ വാടില്ല, കുറേ ദിവസം അതുപോലെ നിലനിൽക്കും. അതിമനോഹരമാണ് ഓർക്കിഡ് പുഷ്പങ്ങൾ. എന്താണ് ഈ ഓർക്കിഡ് പുഷ്പങ്ങളെ മനോഹരമാക്കുന്നത് എന്ന് നമുക്കൊന്ന് നോക്കാം. ഓക്കെ. So its inflorescence is usually solitary or spike, raceme or panicle. That already we studied. What are the raceme or panicle? Flowers are variable in size, shape, color, etc. So usually flowers are with the bracteate. Bracts are very important in the flower of orchids. Bracteate flower. Then flowers are zygomorphic, strictly zygomorphic. You cannot cut into two equal halves in one plane. That is zygomorphic. Flowers are bisexual or rarely unisexual also may be seen. They are epigynous, trimerous. This is a typical feature of orchid flower. Zygomorphy, bracteate, epigynous means inferior ovary, and trimerous condition, 3+3 condition, everything. Then another very important phenomenon observed in the family Orchidaceae is resupination. So this is very important point. You have to remember what is resupination. What is resupination? So I will show you. Okay. So this is the term resupinate. Resupination means axis twisted to 180 degree or upside down. Okay. Axis twisted 180 degree or upside down. So the position of floral whorls may change. That phenomenon is known as resupination. Okay. So these are the bracteate flowers, dendrobium. See the appearance of orchid flowers, sepals, petals, stigma, everything that I will discuss in the next slide. This is a typical orchid flower. You can see here petals are there, sepals are there. This is a sepal, this is a petal. And this is a combination of androecium and gynoecium that combine together some different structures. This is the most attractive part. Okay, how this is formed we will discuss. So perianth. So you cannot say petal or sepal, corolla or calyx. Here you will term it as perianth. Means there is no differentiation into sepal and petal. That's why we call it as perianth. So perianth, the unit of perianth is known as tepal. Unit of perianth is known as tepal. How many are there? 6. In 2 whorls of 3 each. What do you mean by 2 whorls of 3 each? Means 3 plus 3, that is 2 whorls of each. Means in one whorl you can see how many sepals, how many? 3, other whorl 3, or you can call it as 3 sepals or 3 petals. That is, but here we will call it as tepals. That is 6 in 2 whorls, outer whorl and inner whorl. So outer whorl is usually represented as calyx, 3 tepal. Inner is colored, that is represented as corolla. Okay. So outer is usually green or brown, but inner is usually colored. Clear? Now, inner three world, there are some peculiar features. They are dissimilar, differently colored, differently shaped inner three. Okay, so one is very large and attractive, and others are too lateral, they are wing like. Okay, the one of the inner tepal, see, one of the inner tepal is enlarged and modified, and that is known as labellum. Okay, so there are 3+3 condition. In outer 3 is the sepal like, inner 3 is the petal. So from the inner 3, one is modified and enlarged, that you call it as labellum or lip. Very important point, labellum or lip. Clear? It may be different shape, different color in different orchids. So orchid is easily differentiated by looking into the labellum, nature of labellum. This is the most attractive part of an orchid flower. Clear? So this may be broad, shoe-like, spur-like, tubular, butterfly-shaped, or variously branched likewise. So this gives the beauty for orchid flower. So look at the picture. So this is the labellum. See, what about the other two? 1, 2, see, this is one tepal, this is another tepal, this is another tepal. That is the outer world, represented sepal. This is the inner. Inner 2 is what? Winged or somewhat same shape. Then what about this one? This is the largest one. That is the labellum. This is the labellum. This is the most attractive part of the orchid flower. Clear? Okay. Now labellum is actually the posterior in position. Okay. But it lies to the anterior side. How it lies to the anterior side? I have already told. Twisting or rotation of 180 degree take place, and that is known as resupination. So due to resupination, the position of labellum may be changed. Okay. So sometimes labellum or odd sepal prolonged backward into a spur. So sometimes it forms a structure called spur, an elongated tube, a tail-like structure that carry the nectar disc. So this is the organization of the orchid flower. See, sepals 1, 2, 3, that is outer world. Inner world 1, 2 and 3. What about this one? This one is the enlarged colorful one, labellum. Clear? Then the stamens are organized. Say stamens are also 6, but what is the condition? Only one stamen is the usually functional one. This is a functional one. Then tricarpellary ovary, that is a gynoecium. Clear? This is a axis, this is a bract. What happens? Resupination take place. Actually this is here, but this become this side. Why? Due to the rotation or resupination. Okay. Now see, this is a perianth, the different color. See, this is the labellum. So what we are actually observing, ഒരാൾ ഒരു ഓർക്കിഡ് പൂ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ പെട്ടെന്ന് നമ്മളെ കണ്ണു പോകുന്നത് ഈ ഒരു പാർട്ടിലേക്കായിരിക്കും. അതേതാണ്? അതിൻ്റെ labellum. What is the labellum? It is the inner tepal, one of the inner tepal modified. Clear? Now, about androecium. Androecium is actually represented by 2 fused lateral stamens. Clear? 2 fused lateral stamens or 1 terminal stamen. So actually it is 6. All others are staminodes, that is sterile one. But only one is functional, or in some cases only 2 functional. That is the stamen. Clear? And another peculiar feature is stamens united into gynoecium and forming a column. Clear? It's very important point. Stamen united into gynoecium forming a column. Now another peculiar feature is pollen grains are bound together into a structure or a mass that is called pollinia. Clear? Okay. One important point, stamen united into gynoecia forming column. Another important point, pollen grains form into a mass called pollinia. Okay. So like 2 or 3 pollinia fuses and it again form polliniarum, another pointer. Okay. So here see stigma, or you can see stigma, part of gynoecium. Clear? Stigma, style and stamens. See, stigma, style and stamens. 3 STs. Stigma, style and stamens unite to form a complex structure that is known as the column or gynostemium or gynostegium. Very, very important point. So what is gynostegium or gynostemium or column? It is the fusion of style, stigma and stamen. That is andrecium fused with gynecium, and the special structure formed is called column or gynostegium or gynostemium. Clear? Another peculiar point is pollen grains united into a mass, that is called a pollinia. I hope you understood well. These are all asking for examination, very important parts. Now, see, this is the structure of the pollinia. So, now pollinia, how it is organized? There is one more structure. See, so pair of pollinia, these are pair of pollinia, remain connected to the corpusculum. This is the part of our stigma or gynecium. How? By a stalk. This stalk is called caudicle. Okay. This is the glandula or corpusculum, that is the part of gynecium. So, this pollinia connected to them by means of two important arms, that is caudicle. Clear? Two important arms called caudicle. Okay. Now, connection between ovary and stamen is made by rostellum. So, ovary have to connected with the stamen. This gynecium connected to stamen, that is by means of a structure called a rostellum. Okay. So, you can see the diagram here. There are some more different terms. Pollinia, this is a pollinia mass that attaches to caudicle. I already told what is the caudicle. This is the caudicle. These two structures are the caudicle. So, take a single pollinia that attaches to the caudicle. See here, caudicle. And here at the tip of the pollinium, there is some structure called visidium, a sticky pad. For our insects. Clear? Okay. So, this is the detailed structure. See here, this is a structure formed, the fusion of pollinia or fusion of style, stigma and stamens. This is the structure formed. See, these are the structure. Now, so let us move on to gynecium. So, gynecium is tricarpellary, three carpels, syncarpus, inferior, that is epigynous flower, and parietal placentation. Very important. Rarely axial placentation also see. So, three stigmas are there, two lateral are often fertile. So, three stigma, two lateral fertile. Okay. So, tricarpellary, syncarpus, inferior ovary. Parietal placentation is a general one, but sometimes axial also present. Stigma 3. Okay. The third stigma, two stigma is a fertile one. Third stigma is sterile. See, this third stigma is sterile and that forms the rostellum. So, third stigma is the sterile one forming what? Small beaked growth called the rostellum. What is rostellum? Rostellum is a structure where andrecium or stamen attaches to the gynecium. Gynecium forms a structure, rostellum, for attaching what? Stamens. Clear? So, rostellum is actually the sterile stigma. Clear? Rostellum is actually the sterile stigma. So, there are three stigma, two are fertile, one is sterile. Sterile means not functional. This sterile stigma attaches to the stamens. Clear? Okay, see. Center of the column between anther and fertile stigma. Now, a part of rostellum develop into a disc, that is visidium. Rostellum forming a disc known as visidium. See, this is the structure, orchid flower like, butterfly like. See, so what is two lateral sepals are there, one third sepal here. This is a large structure, labellum, and this is the complicated part, pollinium. This is the pollinium. And this is a rostellum. Which form rostellum? Stigma. Okay. So, rostellum is a stigma. So, rostellum attaches to pollinia. Here lies the caudicle and other parts also. So, this is the markings to pollinator or to pollen. Then this is a long spur. I already told you. Some cases one of the sepal or structure convert a spur that carry the nectar. You have to draw the diagram and study. So, this is another important diagram, pollinia, translator and all. This is a stigma, column, outer petal like structures in different orchids. So, gynecium and rostellum. Now, fruits. Fruit is a capsule containing large number of small non-endospermic seeds. The seeds will never germinate. Then pollination is insect pollination, that is entomophily. Which one attracts the insects? The labellum attracts. There are different the conditions like mimicry. So some of the insects trap inside the labellum by secreting the nectar and so on. Okay. When an insect enters the flower, pollinia attaches to the legs of the insect. Okay. By using the caudicle of the pollinia. Okay. Then this insect visits another flower, it deposits pollen grain on the stigmatic surface. Likewise, pollination. So pollination is also very, very important in orchidaceae. See, this is a typical floral formula, bracteate. You have to write it compulsory. Zygomorphic, perianth or tepal 3+3. Maybe free or united. Andrecium 1 or 2. That is only functional. Then gynoecium 3, inferior. Upper side you can draw the line inferior. It is fused. Andrecium and gynoecium. Gynostegium or gynostemium. This is the tiger spider orchid. Okay. This is the typical vanta. Now, in brief characters, epiphytes or terrestrial, zygomorphy or bisexual, perianth 6 in 2 words, you can call it as tepals. Presence of peculiar structure. What are the structure? Labium or labellum, column and rostellum. 2 staminodes are there, 1 stamen only function, or some cases 2 stamen function. Stamen unitiform pollinia. Gynoecium tricarpellary, trilocular, syncarpus, epigyne or inferior. 3 stigma, 2 fertile, 1 modified into rostellum. Then economic importance. Some are used as food during scarcity. Tuberous root of Habenaria used. For flavor, vanilla, very important for ice creams and other items, vanilla flavor is used. Medicine, root stalks of Eulopia used as medicine. Then dyes, leaves of calantha containing glycoside indican, that is used as indigo blue, calantha dye. Then ornamental, most of the orchids are ornamental, you can write some examples also. Then what are the primitive characters? They are the perennials. Then another one is presence of large colored flowers, parietal placentation. What are the advanced characters? Advanced characters is what one by one you can discuss. Exstipulate, adventitious roots modified, flowers in various shapes, size and color, flower zygomorphy, epigyne, then reduction of number of stamens, adhesion of stamens to style, gynoecium with the inferior syncarpus ovary, modification of stigma into rostellum, pollen grains fused to form pollinia, etc. Then seeds endospermic and minute. So, a question usually asking is, what are the advanced characters of Orchidaceae family? Describe the structure of orchid flower. What is gynostegium or gynostemium? What is labellum? What is the structure of pollinia? Such questions usually asking. You have to draw diagrams and write for exam. Clear? These are the illustrations of orchid flower. This is the common orchid found in your garden. That is Pathoglottis. You can see this in your gardens. Pathoglottis, different colored. Its parts are displayed here. Then this is Euxine, another orchid. These are the common orchids available. You can prepare herbarium. This is the Pathoglottis available in your garden. It's light pink. This color also available for Pathoglottis. This is a tiger orchid, grammatophyllum. This is the bulbophyllum. The leaves are usually, stems are bulb. Okay. Epiphyte vanda, this also available in your tree trunks and all. This is lady slipper, cyperipedium, and this is dendrobium. So you can collect any one among this and prepare as herbarium. Okay. So I hope you understood well. It's a very interesting family, Orchidaceae, and also very complicated family. Clear? So everything different and so many questions from this family. So study well, draw diagrams and love this family. Then you will study it. Clear? Okay. So I hope you understood well. So that's all for today. Have a nice day. Thank you.